What if I told you the first 2 minutes of your trading session decide the outcome of your entire day? Not your strategy, not the market conditions, but those fragile, invisible moments right before you take your first trade. Because here's the shocking truth. Most traders lose not because their system is bad, but because their mind never switched on. They step into the market mentally cold, emotionally scattered, and already out of sync. And the market punishes that weakness instantly. That's why today, I'm going to show you the most overlooked, yet most powerful weapon in trading psychology. A 2-minute mind warm-up that primes you for focus, discipline, and consistency before you ever place a trade. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll give you a step-by-step routine you can start using tomorrow morning that will completely change the way you approach the market. But before we dive in, welcome to the Trading Psychology Lab, where the market meets the mind. If you're serious about mastering discipline, emotional control, and long-term profitability, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with another trader who needs it. Now let's dive in. Picture this. You roll out of bed, make some coffee, maybe glance at your phone. Messages, social media, maybe some news headlines. Already your brain is flooded with noise. Then you sit down, open your charts, and in your mind you're thinking, okay, let's trade. But your nervous system doesn't know that. Your body is still carrying stress, distraction, maybe even a little tension you don't notice. And then, boom, the market throws its first fake out. Suddenly you're reactive. You're on tilt. You're chasing instead of waiting. And just like that, you're out of sync. This is the invisible trap most traders never see. They think they're making decisions based on strategy, but in reality, they're trading in a state of mental chaos. And when your mind is chaotic, your trading becomes chaotic. The truth is, your brain doesn't flip into elite performance mode just because you opened a chart. That's like expecting your body to run a marathon the moment you step outside. You'd cramp up. You'd fall apart. You'd quit halfway through. And yet, this is how most traders approach the market. No preparation, no reset, no warm-up. Think about how absurd that is. Every high-level profession uses some form of ritual to get into state. Fighters bounce on their toes backstage. Actors run lines and breathe deeply before stepping on stage. Pilots go through a pre-flight checklist, even though they've flown hundreds of times before. None of this is accidental. It's because they know performance is fragile. The smallest lapse in preparation can lead to disaster. Trading is no different. If you sit down and jump straight into the noise, you're letting chance decide how your psychology shows up. And chance is not your friend. The markets already throw enough randomness at you. You don't need to add your own. Here's the brutal truth. When you skip this mental warm-up, you're basically gambling. You might get lucky and have a focus day, or you might spiral into impulsive mistakes that cost you dearly. And when you zoom out, what does that mean? Inconsistency. The very thing traders fear most. But let me flip this. Imagine if you could guarantee every single day that when you sit down, your mind is steady, sharp, and disciplined. Imagine knowing that no matter what the market throws at you, you'll respond with clarity instead of chaos. That's what the 2-minute warm-up gives you. It's not about perfection. It's about priming your nervous system so you start in control instead of scrambling to catch up. And I'll tell you something from experience. The difference between traders who survive and traders who blow up is not knowledge. Everyone knows risk management. Everyone knows they should cut losses. Everyone knows patience is key. But in the heat of the moment, knowledge collapses. What matters is whether your mind is prepared to act on what you know. That's where those 2 minutes matter. They don't just calm you down. They create a mental switch. They tell your brain, now we're stepping into the arena. Now we're no longer scrolling, distracted, or rushing. Now we're focused. And once your brain gets that signal, your chances of executing your plan increase dramatically. Think about it this way. If you ever played sports, you know that moment in warm-ups where your body locks in. You feel your rhythm, your breath, your timing. The game hasn't even started, but you already know you're ready. Trading has its version of that. And if you never experience it, you're fighting blind. Most traders fail because they underestimate psychology. They think the problem is their entries, their indicators, their strategy. But strategies are everywhere. What's rare is the trader who has trained their state of mind. That's why two people can run the exact same system. One makes money, the other loses. It's not luck. It's mindset. And here's the paradox. The market doesn't care about your setup, your confidence, or your theories. It only cares about how you show up. If you show up scattered, the market will expose you. If you show up centered, the market rewards your discipline with survival, and survival is everything. That's why this 2-minute ritual isn't optional. It's oxygen. Without it, you suffocate in noise. With it, you breathe clarity into every decision you make. And over time, those small edges, those days where you avoided tilt, those trades where you stayed patient, compound into something much bigger: consistency. Because that's what we're really after, right? Not just a good day here or there. Not just one winning trade. We want a career. We want to last. And lasting requires something far more powerful than luck or even knowledge. It requires mental preparation. So let me leave you with this thought as we continue. Every time you sit down without a warm-up, you're gambling with your state of mind. But every time you take those 2 minutes, you're investing in your future as a trader. And that, right there, is the real edge no one talks about. You might be wondering, why 2 minutes? Why not 10 or 30 or an hour of meditation before the market opens? The answer is simple. We're not trying to escape reality. We're not trying to zone out or drift into some spiritual retreat. We're trying to prime the brain for performance. And performance doesn't need hours of silence. It needs a clear, decisive signal. Think about an elite soldier before a mission. They don't sit for an hour chanting or visualizing a perfect outcome. They run through a rapid checklist, they breathe, they ground themselves, and then they go. 2 minutes is all it takes to switch the nervous system from scattered to focused, from reactive to deliberate. And the science backs this up. Studies in neuroscience show that the human brain works on what's called a state-dependent system. That means the decisions you make are heavily influenced by your physiological and emotional state in the moment. If you're anxious, you interpret information differently. If you're calm, you see opportunities clearly. If you're stressed, you make defensive choices. If you're energized, you take risks. Now apply that to trading. You sit down in a state of distraction, maybe even carrying stress from your personal life, and suddenly a red candle forms. Your nervous system interprets it not as neutral data, but as a threat. You react. You close early, or you enter out of fear, or you double down in panic. In that moment, your state, not your strategy, decided your trade. This is why the warm-up matters. It doesn't magically make you profitable. It simply puts your nervous system in the right lane so you can execute what you already know. It's like clearing the fog from a windshield. You could still drive without wiping it, but you'd crash eventually. With clarity, you actually see where you're going. Let's make this practical. What does a 2-minute warm-up actually look like? Start with the breath. Not just casual breathing, conscious breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Do that 4 times. It sounds ridiculously simple, but in just 1 minute, your heart rate slows, your stress hormones drop, and your brain receives the message. We're safe, we're calm, we're ready. Then comes the reset. This is where you speak directly to your subconscious. You can do it silently or out loud. Say, "The market does not control me. My job is not to predict. My job is to execute. I will follow my plan. If I lose small. If I win with discipline." These aren't just affirmations, they're anchors. They lock your mind to the behaviors you want to embody. Finally, visualize the process. Not the money, not the outcome, not the dream car or vacation. Visualize yourself waiting patiently for your setup. Visualize yourself taking a loss and staying calm. Visualize yourself following your plan exactly. That's the hidden key. Because when you rehearse discipline in your mind, your brain treats it as practice. And when the moment comes in real time, it feels familiar instead of foreign. That's it. 2 minutes. Breathing, resetting, visualizing. It's not fancy. It's not complicated. But it rewires how you show up to the market. And here's the kicker. Most traders won't do it. They'll hear this, nod, maybe even try it once or twice, and then dismiss it as too simple. Because the human mind loves complexity. We crave new indicators, new strategies, new techniques that make us feel like we're getting somewhere. But ask yourself honestly, has chasing complexity ever made you more consistent? Or has it just distracted you from mastering the basics? The truth is, trading success comes from mastering the boring things. Risk management is boring. Journaling is boring. Patience is boring. But that's exactly why they work, because most people skip them. And the same goes for the 2-minute mind warm-up. It's so simple that 90% of traders will ignore it. Which means if you actually do it, you're giving yourself a massive edge over the majority. Think about the compounding effect. 1 day of warming up might save you from one impulsive trade. That's good. But imagine a year of consistently showing up in the right state of mind. That's hundreds of avoided mistakes. That's thousands of dollars preserved. That's confidence built brick by brick. That's what transforms you from a gambler into a professional. But let me warn you, this only works if you treat it as sacred. Not optional. Not negotiable. Just like a pilot wouldn't dare skip their pre-flight checklist, you must not dare skip your warm-up. The second you say, "I'll just dive in today," is the day your old habits creep back. And your old habits are what you're trying to escape. So ask yourself this: what kind of trader do you want to be? The one who treats trading like a casual hobby, sitting down cold and hoping for the best? Or the one who treats it like a profession, who primes their mind every single day because they understand the stakes? If it's the second, then the 2-minute warm-up is no longer optional for you. It's your ritual, your armor, your edge. And over time, it will do something powerful. It will separate your identity. You'll stop seeing yourself as just someone who trades and start seeing yourself as a professional. And that shift alone changes everything. Because the moment you see yourself differently, you act differently. The trader who identifies as a pro will not skip the warm-up. They won't chase out of boredom. They won't hold losers out of denial. They won't abandon discipline after one bad day. They understand that every action is a reflection of who they are becoming. And when you anchor yourself in that identity, trading stops being random. It becomes consistent. So don't underestimate the 2 minutes. It might feel small, but in reality, it's the doorway. On the other side is the trader you've always wanted to be, the one who's calm, focused, consistent, and resilient. The one who lasts. Here's what happens when you don't warm up. You come into the market carrying whatever baggage the day has already given you. Maybe it's stress from work. Maybe it's an argument with your partner. Maybe it's just the residue of scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to people who look like they're winning at life while you feel stuck. And then, without realizing it, you bring all of that energy to your trading desk. So when you see the first setup of the day, it isn't just a chart pattern in front of you. It's a mirror reflecting back your emotional state. If you're restless, you jump too early. If you're anxious, you hesitate and miss the entry. If you're frustrated, you chase after you missed it. In other words, the market doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your nervous system. And here's the paradox: you can't avoid those emotions. You can't live in a vacuum where nothing in life touches you. You're human. You'll always feel. But what you can do is prime yourself before you trade, so that no matter what you're carrying, you reset your state. You create a buffer. You reclaim control. That's why the 2-minute warm-up is non-negotiable. It's not about erasing emotions. It's about creating space between your emotions and your actions. It's about teaching your brain. Yes, I feel restless. Yes, I feel anxious. But I can still follow my plan. That's the difference between an amateur and a pro. The amateur thinks they have to feel perfect before they act. The pro knows they just need to act according to plan, no matter what they feel. And let me be brutally honest here. Most traders never get this. They think discipline means not feeling. They beat themselves up for being scared, for hesitating, for sweating when money is at risk. But that's not weakness. That's biology. Your body is wired to protect you from risk because for most of human history, risk meant death. When you risk money, your nervous system treats it like a threat to survival. That's why your heart races. That's why your palms sweat. That's why you panic. The warm-up doesn't delete that biology, but it rewires how you relate to it. When you breathe deeply, when you reset your inner script, when you visualize disciplined action, you're telling your brain, this isn't danger. This is performance. And your nervous system begins to respond differently. The signals are still there, but instead of hijacking you, they become background noise. You notice them, but they don't control you. Think of a firefighter stepping into a burning building. Their body is flooded with adrenaline. Their brain is screaming danger. But because they've trained, because they've rehearsed, because they've primed themselves countless times, they can act with precision even in the middle of chaos. That's exactly what trading requires. And the 2-minute warm-up is your daily rehearsal. Now, let me take you deeper into why this works. The brain is a pattern recognition machine. Every habit you have, good or bad, is just a pattern your brain has rehearsed enough times to become automatic. When you sit down and dive straight into the market, you reinforce the pattern of reactivity. You're teaching your brain, this is how we trade, impulsively, emotionally, scattered. But when you start every session with the warm-up, you reinforce the opposite pattern, calm, focus, discipline. Over weeks and months, that becomes your new default. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to wait years to see the difference. You'll notice it in days. The first time you sit through a losing trade without panic because you primed yourself, you'll feel it. The first time you wait for your setup while others chase noise, you'll feel it. The first time you end the day proud of your discipline, even if you didn't make money, you'll feel it. That's when you'll realize this isn't some motivational trick. It's a fundamental shift in how you show up. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you ended a trading day not because your strategy failed, but because you failed? You broke your rules. You moved your stop. You chased. You hesitated. You sabotaged yourself. If you're honest, that's the real reason most of your losses happen. The strategy is fine. It's you that collapses. Now imagine cutting those mistakes in half. Imagine cutting them by 80%. Imagine a year where you only trade according to your plan, where your losses are controlled, where your wins are the natural result of consistency. Do you realize how much money that saves you? Do you realize how much confidence that builds? That's the power of the warm-up. It doesn't make you a genius. It just makes you consistent enough to let your edge play out. And that's all trading is. It's not about predicting the future. It's about managing yourself long enough for your edge to unfold. But here's the catch. You can't manage yourself if you don't prepare yourself. You wouldn't run a marathon without stretching. You wouldn't give a speech without rehearsing. You wouldn't fight a professional boxer without sparring. So why would you face the most competitive financial game in the world without warming up your mind? Here's the truth. The 2-minute ritual isn't just a warm-up. It's a declaration. It's you telling yourself, I take this seriously. I treat this like a profession. I respect the game. And the market has a funny way of rewarding traders who show respect. Not with instant riches. Not with guaranteed wins. But with longevity. And longevity is the only path to profitability. So the next time you sit down, don't just open your charts. Stop. Breathe. Reset. Visualize. 2 minutes. That's all it takes. And in that small window, you separate yourself from 90% of traders who will never do it. You rise above the noise. You step into the arena not as a gambler, but as a professional. Because at the end of the day, trading isn't about strategies. It's about state. And your state is something you can control if you're willing to prepare. Here's the thing nobody tells you about trading. It's not the wins that break you. It's not even the losses. It's the inconsistency. It's the whiplash of being disciplined one day and reckless the next. It's that feeling of knowing what you should do, yet watching yourself do the exact opposite. That gap between knowledge and execution, it eats traders alive. And here's where the 2-minute warm-up becomes more than just a ritual. It becomes the bridge. Because what does inconsistency really come down to? It's not lack of information. It's not lack of tools. It's the failure to align your actions with your intentions. You tell yourself, I'll stick to my stop loss today. But then in the heat of the moment, fear takes over. You promise yourself, I'll wait for my A+ setup. But boredom creeps in and you jump early. That gap between your promise and your action, that's the killer. The warm-up is designed to close that gap. It takes your intentions out of theory and stamps them into your nervous system before the first candle moves. It's like programming your operating system before you hit start. And once you do it consistently, you'll notice something incredible. You begin to trust yourself again. That's the hidden currency in trading. Not money, not setups, not signals. Self-trust. When you trust yourself to follow your plan no matter what, the game changes. Suddenly, losses don't shake you because you know you executed correctly. Wins don't inflate your ego because you know they came from discipline, not luck. And sideways days don't frustrate you because you know showing up with consistency is the real win. But self-trust doesn't magically appear. It's built brick by brick, repetition by repetition. And the warm-up is the first brick every single day. It's you proving to yourself before the market even opens that you're serious, that you're grounded, that you're ready. Now let's talk about losses, because this is where traders crumble most. Everyone loves the idea of discipline until they get punched in the face by reality. You can read all the trading books in the world, but nothing prepares you for the sting of watching red numbers on your screen. That's when the fight or flight response takes over. That's when the rational brain shuts down and the primitive brain takes the wheel. But here's what's fascinating. When you prime your mind before the session, you create emotional shock absorbers. It doesn't mean losses don't sting. It means they don't spiral you out of control. You breathe differently. You recover faster. You remember your plan. And most importantly, you stop making the loss worse by compounding it with revenge trades. That's where most traders destroy themselves. Not the initial loss, but the avalanche of bad decisions that follow because they couldn't reset. But if you've already practiced calmness in your warm-up, your brain recognizes that state when chaos hits. It says, we've been here before. We know what to do. And instead of spiraling, you return to center. Think about the compounding effect of that. One avoided meltdown today might not seem like much, but string together 100 avoided meltdowns over a year, and suddenly you're still in the game while others have blown up. That's the real edge, the ability to survive long enough for your edge to unfold. Let me share something I've seen over and over. Traders don't quit because they hate trading. They quit because they hate themselves in trading. They get tired of breaking promises to themselves. They get tired of feeling weak. They get tired of knowing the right thing yet failing to do it. And that self-betrayal becomes unbearable. That's what really sends people packing. But imagine the opposite. Imagine finishing your trading day, even on a red day, and feeling proud. Not because you made money, but because you executed with discipline. You cut your losses. You waited for your setup. You stayed calm. That pride builds momentum. And momentum builds confidence. And confidence builds a career. That's the hidden gift of the warm-up. It shifts your focus from outcome to process, from money to mastery, from fear to execution. And when your identity shifts to someone who executes with discipline, no matter what, the money eventually follows as a byproduct. Now let's zoom out. Picture yourself a year from now. Every day, you've given yourself those 2 minutes before trading. That's over 250 sessions of consistent priming. That's 250 days of reinforcing discipline, calming your nervous system, programming your brain for execution. Do you think you'd be the same trader you are today? Impossible. You'd be sharper, clearer, stronger. You'd have scars, yes, but also resilience. You'd carry yourself with quiet confidence instead of desperate hope. That's the transformation waiting for you. But it begins with a choice. Because here's the brutal reality. You either pay the price of discipline up front, or you pay the price of regret later. 2 minutes now, or thousands of dollars later. 2 minutes now, or years of frustration later. The choice is yours. And let me say this, don't underestimate small actions. People think transformation has to be massive, dramatic, life-shattering. But the truth is, transformation happens in the smallest habits repeated with devotion. 2 minutes may seem small, but stack it over months and years, and it becomes unstoppable. That's how pros are made, not in big breakthroughs, but in small rituals honored daily. So tomorrow, when you sit down at your desk, ask yourself, am I walking into this like a gambler or like a professional? If it's the latter, then breathe, reset, visualize. 2 minutes. That's it. That's the gap between chaos and clarity, between regret and pride, between quitting and lasting. And if this resonates with you, if you feel even a spark of recognition in what I'm saying, don't just nod along. Act on it. Try it. See what happens. And then commit to it. Because the market won't wait for you to figure it out. It will punish your hesitation, but it will also reward your preparation. Here's the truth. I can talk all day about why the 2-minute warm-up matters, but unless you have a clear way to apply it, it's just theory. So let me give you the blueprint. Simple, repeatable, something you can do starting tomorrow. Step 1, breathe. Before you look at a single chart, before you check your phone, before you let your brain flood with the noise of the day, close your eyes and breathe. 4 seconds in. Hold for 4. 4 seconds out. Hold for 4. Do this for a minute. That's it. You're not trying to become a monk. You're just slowing down your nervous system. You're telling your body, I am in control. I am not chasing. I am not rushing. I am here. Step 2, remind yourself of your rules. Say them out loud if you have to. I cut losses without hesitation. I wait for my setup. I don't trade boredom. I execute with discipline. These words matter. When pressure hits later, your brain will fall back on what you've already rehearsed. Think of it like loading software into your mental operating system before the program runs. Step 3, visualize execution. Not winning. Not doubling your account. Execution. Picture yourself seeing your setup. Entering calmly. Managing the trade. Taking your stop without hesitation if it's hit. Holding steady if it's valid. Closing the trade according to your plan. Feel it in your body. The calmness. The certainty. The composure. That visualization isn't fantasy. It's training your brain to recognize the state you want to operate from. 2 minutes. That's all. Breath. Rules. Visualization. Done. You're not hyping yourself up. You're not predicting the market. You're not asking for certainty. You're grounding yourself in discipline before the chaos begins. And here's the kicker. The warm-up doesn't just prepare you for trading. It starts bleeding into your life outside the charts. Because once you practice calming your mind before action, you start carrying that into other areas. Conversations, decisions, even stressful moments with family or work. You start realizing trading isn't just about making money. It's about mastering yourself. The market becomes your dojo. The 2-minute warm-up becomes your meditation mat. Now, let's address the skeptic in your mind. Maybe you're thinking, can something this small really change my trading? Fair question. But let me flip it on you. Hasn't something just as small destroyed your trading before? One impulsive click. One moment of hesitation. One broken rule. Small moments create massive outcomes in trading. The warm-up is simply using that truth in your favor. Here's the other thing. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your preparation. Everyone wants to be consistent. Everyone wants to be disciplined. Everyone wants to survive long enough to thrive. But when the heat is on, it's not your goals that show up. It's your habits. And if you don't have a ritual to ground you, you're at the mercy of your emotions. The warm-up solves that. Now imagine this. Every morning, thousands of traders around the world open their laptops and dive straight into chaos. Twitter feeds, Discord alerts, news headlines, price flashing red and green. Their nervous system spikes before they've even taken their first trade. And they wonder why they're anxious, impulsive, inconsistent. Meanwhile, you're sitting in silence, breathing, grounded, clear. You haven't even looked at the market yet, but you've already won the first battle, your state of mind. That's the edge. Not because the warm-up tells you what the market will do, but because it ensures you don't destroy yourself regardless of what the market does. And that's the only edge that lasts. So here's my challenge to you. Do it tomorrow. Just once. Give yourself those 2 minutes. Test it. See how you feel when the first setup appears. See how you handle your first loss. See how calm you are compared to yesterday. Then do it the next day. And the next. Give it 30 days. No excuses. No skipping. Just 2 minutes a day. If it doesn't change your trading, fine. But I'll tell you now, you'll be shocked at what happens. Because at the end of the day, trading is not about finding the holy grail strategy. It's about finding the version of you that can execute. That version of you is already there. You just have to wake it up. And the 2-minute warm-up is the alarm clock. So if this spoke to you, if you're tired of inconsistency, if you're tired of fear, if you're tired of betraying your own plan, then this is your turning point. Don't just consume this video. Apply it. And if it helps you, share it. Like it. Subscribe to this channel so we can keep going deeper into the psychology that separates amateurs from professionals. Because this is what we do here. We build traders from the inside out. And let me leave you with this. The market doesn't care how much money you want to make. The market doesn't care about your dreams, your bills, or your ambitions. But the market does reward discipline. It rewards preparation. It rewards those who are calm in chaos. 2 minutes might sound small, but so does the spark that lights a fire. And if you honor it, that fire will carry you further than you can imagine. This is where the market meets the mind. And if you master that, you don't just trade better. You live better.